Ignat's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be. Dax corner and it goes. Glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! And 𝐂𝐚𝐩𝐿𝐿 has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Good evening, Rovers fans, and welcome to our post-match live stream after another Rovers defeat, this time away at Reading, losing 1-0 this evening, live on Sky, as this horrible run of form continues for Rovers. 6 defeats in 7 games, which is making it tough at the moment for all of us, but we will do what we usually do on the post-match stream and just try and discuss it, try and see what we do next and where we went wrong tonight and what we need to do. So you have our word that that's the way that we will always do it on this channel. You can see I'm joined by Howard, Glenn and Ollie tonight, who have all watched the game as well as myself tonight. So we'll just try and give our views about the game. Just a few things before we get started, though. If you are new to our channel and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the bell icon as well to get all notifications for when our video content is live. And please give this video a like and all of our other video content a like as well, as we continue to grow the show as well. And if you did want to contribute with a super chat this evening in your despair and wallowing in your despair, the super chat is available, as it always is. No one's under any obligation to do that, but we've had some contributors on the watch along this evening. Really grateful for you that have done that tonight. We enjoyed the game together. We did the best we can, and we'll get that fans wall set up for on the other side and the weekend streams that we do. Just before we get started, though, 2 reminders. We are sponsored by Blue Rose Capital now, for those of you that didn't see that on the watch along or on the other side. They join 6𝐷𝐿𝐿𝐻 as a main sponsor for our channel. So really big thank you to RJ from Blue Rose Capital for his kind sponsorship this season. And I will just bring in the 6𝐷𝐿𝐻 sponsor message before we get started. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6𝐷𝐿𝐻. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below. Thank you to 6𝐷𝐿𝐻 and Blue Rose Capital for their very, very kind sponsorship this season. So I want to try and avoid, if we can, so all of you in the comments, Glenn, Howard, Ollie tonight, Saturday's post-match stream and probably the one before that as well, there was probably a lot of talk about Tony Mowbray there. So I want to try and avoid 45 minutes to an hour of the future of the manager, because I think most people are in the same camp. So I've just got a few questions to try and guide the discussion a bit tonight as well. And I will dip into everyone's comments as well, as I usually do. So Howard, I'll just come to you first. Just a basic sum up how you're feeling at this moment in time, you know, as a Blackburn Rovers fan.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, at the moment? I think that the common word I've ever seen is deflated, and it's the perfect word, isn't it? It's just it's so tragic what's happened this season, how we've fallen off a cliff so quickly, so suddenly, where our expectations for what's ahead has changed so drastically, where we're thinking about relegation. It's hard to take, really, because I mean, we went in with such optimism into this season, and it's just, like I've said, it's just fallen off a cliff, and I've just had enough at this point. I don't even know. I'm just watching Rovers because I watch Rovers at this point. I'm putting myself through the same rubbish every week, and it's just as painful as it was the last, and yet I still do it. And sometimes I just wonder why. But I mean, in terms of the game today, I would probably say out of the 7 performances is probably the best, if that means anything. We were probably the better team on the whole today, but I think Reading probably allowed us to be. But again, we were just the masters of our own downfall. Again, just one mistake from Harvey Elliott today was a huge mistake. He just can't be doing it. He just has to give that ball to 𝐂𝐚𝐥𝐿. He loses the ball in a huge area and it costs us the game just like that. And sometimes that's just not on the manager, isn't it? And it must be what's so infuriating for someone who will come out of the game today and Mowbray will have all the stick, but that's not really on him, is it? I mean, the team today, it was a completely different story, but he can't change what Harvey Elliott does, can he? And change the result in such a huge moment in his time at Rovers in our season. And it's just like, well, where do you? It's just I don't even know, mate. It's so hard at the moment, isn't it? I've just genuinely got nothing else to say. I'm so deflated and fed up. It's really tough at the moment.
Yeah, it is. And Howard, there's FM Works is with you. No comment. Night guys. And then High Press. Very sad and depressed, lads. We weren't even particularly bad today. Just one bad mistake. Jamie, you're great to come on here with such enthusiasm. It's very depressing at the moment. Yeah, depressing is absolutely that. And then if I can just check one thing. So Gary made the comment, pressure and results doesn't concern me. What is Mowbray saying? So absolutely, I'm going to be keeping my eye out on Twitter to see what Rich Sharp and others tweet out. But Dave, if this is true that Mowbray has blamed no crowd for our results on Sky, I'm not being funny. I've been at the Majewski Stadium on a midweek, which is one of the longest kind of away trips for Rovers on a midweek. And I've been there with probably 250 other Rovers fans. So I'm not being funny. If the lack of Rovers fans there tonight is a reason for us losing, I hope that he's not actually saying that and he's just panning it over the results as a whole, including Ewood Park. So if you could just clarify that one for me, because that would be in the crazy camp, most certainly. So Glenn, I'm going to come to you. Similar question to Howard. Just sum up how you're feeling after that result and watching that.
It's just deflating, isn't it? I think it's that kind of, as soon as we concede, you know what's coming. Like you mentioned before we went live, it might be the 5th minute, it might be the 10th minute, it might be the 30th minute. You know what's going to come for the rest of the game. It's going to be us huffing and puffing, passing the ball, not really creating anything, and coming away saying, "Oh, we've played well. We were a better side, deserved a point." But again, we've not got anything, and it's too predictable now. It's kind of what frustrated me tonight was the Sky commentators were saying, "Oh, this is free scoring Blackburn Rovers." That's a misnomer. That we haven't been free scoring all season. We've been free scoring when we've been playing a team with 10 men and we're 1-0 up, and they've got to open up for us. We haven't been free scoring at all, and I think that's my big issue. Is we don't really create anything at the minute. Yeah, it's poor from Harvey Elliott, to be fair. I'll give him the benefit of youth, but what frustrated me tonight, and particularly in the first half, was the number of blind passes round the corner. Ball comes in, I'll just knock it round the corner, just straight to him. Wayward passes, simple things like don't play the ball across your own 18-yard box. Yet we seem to do it all the time, always inviting pressure. I think there's a couple of times Bell headed it back into the 18-yard box, and it's just suicidal football, really. But that said, Reading scored. Reading sat in. They did what they had to. They got a win. Is that their first win at home in how many games? We said it on Saturday, didn't we? If someone needs a win, play us. You're bound to get it. It's just, yeah. Again, we played well. One mistake. Never really created anything after that. And for me, that's my biggest kind of criticism of this season, is not being able to turn a game round once we go 1-0 down, and just being kind of just resigned to it now. Is the depressing thing, is you concede, you kind of resign to the result after that. It's frustrated, annoyed.
It's a tried and tested blueprint, isn't it? Going 1-0 up against Rovers, and for me, it doesn't matter when you go 1-0 up against Rovers. It's done and dusted, and that's not good when you think about all these sides over the years. Different clubs at different points who have come from behind. To be fair to Rovers, it's stuff that we did used to do in League One. We'd be pegged back or we'd be behind and we win the game, and it's you go into games thinking you're going to get something out of it, but we're currently watching a side that if we go 1-0 down, it's done and dusted, isn't it?
I think there's a stat made by the commentator that Rovers have scored more goals off the bench than any other team. But that's because it feels like we've made about 4,000 substitutions this season. We're going to score that many goals off the bench. It's, just frustrating.
It is. Ollie, before I come to you, I'm just going to pick up FM's super chat here. Thank you, Ollie. FM, low donation if we lose. I said you did say that on the watch along. Blame Mowbray. So you were very willing to put your hands in your pockets if I think it was Brereton who you said, didn't you, if he scored? But thank you nonetheless for the 199 and for your ongoing support to the channel. Thank you, FM. So Ollie, just sum up your thoughts if you can. How you feeling after that, after watching that game, etc.
Yeah, like the other guys, quite a somber mood really. Not unexpected, but it's not nice to watch your team not play particularly badly, but kind of lose a game quite easily. I think the really sad thing is I thought Reading were really poor overall, but then we're playing Reading without Meite, Rinomhota and Swift. So they haven't won at home since January. Forget, put our form to one side before the game. We're playing, that'd be like us playing without, Elliott, Brereton and Rothwell injured. And they haven't scored in the second half for 8 matches, and that's now 9 matches. And we actually, if you remove Elliott's mistake, actually, Harwood-Bellis comes in for Branthwaite, which is probably the right call to make. Overall, we actually defended quite well, but Reading were without probably two of their key attacking players. Yeah, just really disappointing because it's just so inevitable. And Brereton played really well, but you can see it in the comments that I don't know whether we just don't do enough. We've had nearly 70% possession over the whole match, but we haven't really tested their keeper enough. Armstrong had that free shot on the edge of the box is probably, if we were going to score a goal, you'd probably think it's going to be that chance of all the kind of half chances we had, or that late chance with the Douglas crossing it in and he doesn't quite get it on target. But we weren't, peppering their goal, and they weren't clinging on as much as you probably want. But then it's tough really because they're 5th, we're 15th, and they don't look like a team that should be 5th on the night, but they've beaten us without really having to work that hard. If I was going to try and actually kind of a talking point, and I think Luke Howard in the comments has picked up on it. I thought I was on Sky Go. I thought Curtis Davies and Matt Mills were quite good on the punditry, talking about Brereton as a number 9. They highlighted him as our best player, which he was. And I mean, watching us inevitably lose the match, the only thing that was kind of running through my mind is that, yeah, he actually, not, I wouldn't say for the first time, but certainly this evening, he kind of presented himself as an option to play centrally as a number 9. I thought he did. Yeah, we didn't score a goal, but it was quite a complete performance overall. He's sort of the usual good hold-up play, good dribbling on the ball, and certainly got himself into a couple of areas centrally where he did drag a shot wide, but it just got me thinking that if we've struggled with a bit of a plan B this season, that maybe it doesn't seem like that bad an option, that if you put Brereton centrally, and I've got no issue with Armstrong playing on the left side of a 3. He's actually probably spent more time there than he has centrally for us across his entire career with us, and he still scores goals from that position. Probably if I was clutching at straws for a positive, it would be that we perhaps presented ourselves with a possible way of kind of approaching a game slightly differently or changing things in a different way. But yeah, just a bit down really. I find it quite hard to watch us to be kind of, you make one mistake and you lose a match, and throughout this really awful run, you know, we're not a well-beaten team ever, and that's what really hurts. We know it's a division that is very, very particular with fine margins, and to just constantly fall the wrong side of it for 7 games, because I mean the Coventry game was really poor. To do it for 7 games and, you know, lose by a single goal, or, you know, draw a match, you know, without not doing enough to win it, like, it's hard to watch as a fan. It's just not. You just want to get a break, you know, something just to fall our way and just get a win and see if it can change things. You know, we know it's a bit of a dead season now, but it doesn't make things like tonight any easier, because, you know, we did one thing wrong and we lost the game, and Reading didn't do enough to win it, in my opinion, but they've won it. So, you know, it is what it is, and we just have to kind of take it on the chin and move on. But, you know, we're all here hurting, and yeah, we're Blackburn fans, so it is what it is.
That's it. So Tony Mowbray's interview is certainly making some waves on social media. Just as Ollie was talking there, I was just having a quick look on Twitter, and I've been looking in the comments from everyone. So I think a lot of you are agreeing that he's sounding like a man that is ready to walk, and some of the stuff that he is saying. So if you did watch that Sky interview post-match, let us know in the comments some of the stuff that he said, and as and when I retrieve it off Twitter, I'll run it as a ticker along the bottom as well. He's certainly sounded like a jaded figure and things like that. I can see that there are people in the comments. So, you know, leap year man, we aren't getting battered by anyone, but loose defending means we've come out on the wrong end. And there was a comment about Harvey Elliott, which I'll just need to retrieve in a moment. And I accept the fact it was a mistake from Harvey Elliott tonight, as much as it was a deflected goal against Nottingham Forest when we played them. I think the thing for me, which is really worrying, is it's just another blueprint for defeating Rovers tonight. So that first goal, whether it comes after 6 minutes when Stoke scored theirs, 25 minutes when Nottingham Forest scored theirs at the City Ground, you get that first goal and then you sit back. And in the second half, Reading have had 70% possession in that second half, I'm led to believe. And across that whole game tonight, Rovers have had 2 shots on target. And one of those was that first half effort from Ben Brereton, which trickled into the keeper's arms that I can remember. I don't even know what the other shot was, the other one that was on target. Someone please correct me. And then you're just looking at other statistics. 4 wins in 18 league games, 6 defeats in 7 for a team that's on a journey. You know, I don't mind if it's slow progress building up to the playoffs or whatever. 4 wins in 18 league games is not acceptable form for a team that's looking upwards rather than down. And we find ourselves now 13 points off the playoffs, 11 points off the relegation zone, and pretty marooned now this season with nowhere really to go. We are going to do monumentally well, do monumentally well to get relegated, I'd suggest at this stage. You know, a couple of wins and a draw maybe, or something like that, and we should be okay. And I just repeat what I said on Saturday. We've got a real opportunity now that if this manager isn't the one for us, we've got an opportunity to sort that. But I will use those stats against Tony Mowbray and use those things against him that he has said in the press. This does not feel like a team on a journey at the moment, and it doesn't feel like a team that's progressing at the moment. And he can go on Sky all he likes and say, I wish there were fans in the stadium. If the fans want me out, I'll go and see my family. But the stats aren't lying at the moment, and it really is just a worrying run of form. So, Howard, I'm just going to come back to you. I just want to talk about the game a little bit more if I can, and then I will go back into everyone's comments. This was another one where, like Nottingham Forest and like some of the other games we've seen, we started okay. And the game tonight, helped by Reading's pitch, which was in good nick, I thought we were looking slick. I thought we were looking quite bright. I thought Brereton was looking good down the left. And it just seemed half a yard quicker tonight rather than, you know, trudgy and slow on our pitch. So we started really well in that first 25 minutes. And yes, you can't legislate for a mistake like that from Harvey Elliott. But again, it's just the collapse, isn't it? It's the lack of seeming like we're going to get back into that game again, which is really disappointing tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what's most concerning, isn't it, over this stretch, is the fact that we almost seem defeated so easily. Like we were always in that game today, and yet when we went 1-0 down, you just noticed a lot of confidence drained. Elliott just kind of he looked a little bit scared, almost like he didn't. Not that he didn't want the ball, because I mean he's just that type of player to always want the ball, but he just looked a bit on edge type thing. I don't know how to quite put it, but it was quite weird. And in terms of like the start, I mean, we were very zippy on the ball, but I think that was helped a lot by 𝐂𝐻𝐿 today. I thought he was one of our better players again. That type of a nimble player, isn't he? Who can just turn quickly and pick a pass, and I think he helps in that type of midfield, similar to maybe a Davenport does. And but one thing that I thought didn't help was the fact that Tom Trybull was on the pitch, to be honest, when we went 1-0 down. I think Tom Trybull is one of the most average footballers I think I've seen in a Rovers shirt. He's just so simple with everything that he does, isn't he? I mean, we were 1-0 down. I think it was just after Dolan came on, and he does it. I remember him doing a 1-2 with Dolan, and Dolan was desperate for the come back to him to make so he could start a run. And Trybull just turns and just passes it back, and it's just things like that when you're in the last 10 minutes. And you need something to happen, and you're just still passive like you're 1-0 up yourselves. That really annoys me. And I mean, it reminds me a lot of Steven Nzonzi. In truth, I still blows my mind that Steven Nzonzi ended up where he was just such a passive midfielder who just did the basics fairly well, but wasn't very good at much. And I mean, I don't think he's particularly good personally. I thought it was another. It probably wasn't his fault, to be honest, because I just think he probably should have come off instead of Rothwell. Because again, it's another game where Rothwell comes off after doing not much wrong. And I mean, why couldn't he stay on? I mean, we're 1-0 down. Why could he not? I mean, he would have offered more in an attacking sense, pushing the game, than a Trybull would have, who just didn't seem to really add that urgency in the midfield. And yeah, I think another. Just mute my mic then. I don't know how I did that. Another point I'd make in terms of a few performances actually was Howard Bellis. I think we've somewhat touched on it, but I think he's asserted himself quite well today. There was a few moments where he looked quite strong in his positioning, and he was quite tough in the tackle. I thought he was had a pretty good game today, and probably deserves another start on Saturday ahead of Branthwaite, who's flat to deceive, really. He's not been particularly good, has he? And yeah, I mean, I'm just a bit. I don't even know where to go, to be honest. Today, I mean, I've sat on these streams for the past couple of weeks, and I feel like I'm just repeating myself every game. It's just I don't know where else we can go. I mean, if we're going 1-0 down and the team is just collapsing the way that it does, I mean, you can only look one way for me, and that's for change. And it's just a little bit concerning. I think actually I'll just touch on something that I've said. I know I've got a few people commenting on the Nzonzi thing that I just said. That might be my young guys. I mean, I was 10 years old when Nzonzi played for Blackburn, believe it or not. But I always look at Nzonzi now and wonder how he kind of ended up where he was, because I never really saw that, to be honest. I used to get quite frustrated with Nzonzi when I was in primary school. But so don't take my opinion too literal, because I mean, I was pretty young then, to be fair.
We will let you off, Howard, if I just tell you that Glenn nearly fell off his chair when you made that comment about Steven Nzonzi, which, to be fair, I agree with Glenn as well. So Nzonzi was an excellent footballer for us.
When I remember watching Nzonzi, I just remember around the time when Keane and Allardyce, that change came in, I just remembered him being a really passive midfielder. And like he'd come on the ball and he'd just kind of always be a sideways and backwards type player. That's the type of comparison I made. But I mean, if you're remembering it, I mean, you're a lot older than me, so maybe you just see these things.
I was just letting you off then. No, I think on Tom Trybull, that is ultimately his game. He is a sideways and backwards type player because he is that deepest lying midfielder who can put in a tackle. I was personally delighted to see him on the team sheet tonight because I thought he had a good first half of the game against Huddersfield before he got injured, and he's not had the chance to get back into the side. But I think if we're looking for Tom Tribal to be the source of, kind of creativity, pace, attacking intent, we're looking in the wrong place. It's not going to come from him because he's just not that type of player. So, that's my opinion on Tribal. Glenn, I'm just going to come on to you. I'm still just absolutely fascinated by the comments on social media because Mowbray has really caused a storm with his interview. So I'm effectively just buying myself some time whilst I come to you. So again, I know that you're a positive Rovers fan and you will see the good in our performances. I've got no doubt that you would have seen the same stuff as I did in that first 25 or so minutes. We looked slick. We looked like we were passing it about. We looked like we were taking advantage of a better pitch. We looked a little bit dangerous. And then we make the mistake from Harvey Elliott. But there was still that thought tonight, wasn't there, that we might just get an equaliser. We might just, particularly go into half-time. I was feeling quite, maybe we could. We hadn't looked too bad. It's one mistake from Harvey Elliott. But boy, was I taught a lesson in that second half. Like, why did I even think that at half-time? Because it was just that same blueprint, wasn't it? We just looked so unlikely again in that second half, and that is disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, I've just got back on my chair after Howard saying he was in primary school and Stephen Nzonzi was here, and I feel ancient now. That's like French boy. I love Stephen Nzonzi. He was great for us. He's a World Cup winner. He was going sideways before it was fashionable. Was Stephen Nzonzi? He was good. In terms of tonight, like you say, you've got that hope, haven't you? It's only 1-0. We've kind of, I'm not so sure I'd say it was weathering a storm, but they had a bit more of the ball in the first half. They offered a bit of a threat. It's just, we're great on the ball, and I love seeing passing football. And I said the same on Saturday, but it's not getting us anywhere at the minute. It's so easy to play against. I mean, I put in the Rovers Chat earlier. I think Armstrong's a massive problem for us at the minute. I think there's the talk about the West Ham being interested. If it was me, sell him. He's never going to be worth as much as he's worth now to us in terms of value. For me, I'd sell him. I think he inhibits us in terms of how we play. I think he's good when you're getting him in behind, you're playing the ball up the top, he's running onto balls. But once the team goes 1-0 up, they're just going to drop and you're not going to have that. He's going to be receiving the ball facing the wrong way, and that's no good with Armstrong. Something else I noticed about him, there's a comment in there about him not shooting anymore. I think it was Rovers tweeted something earlier, if it was his goal at Reading last season, and you can see he gets the ball, he shapes to shoot, steadies himself, then hits it. And he did that a few times when he scored some crackers in recent seasons. I don't think he's there anymore. I don't think he's taking that second to compose himself and hit it. I just think he's got goals, personal glory. I thought giving him the captain's armband a couple of games ago was mad for me. There's other players on the pitch that I think would make better captains than him. For me, I look at Armstrong and I think I'd much rather have had Lucas Joao and Puscas. They offered a lot more than Armstrong did. He's a great striker when he's running through and he's one-on-one and whatnot. But when you're chasing the game, he's not the person you want up front for me. He's too, I need it into my feet or I need to be running onto it. He doesn't offer enough. I'm a big critic of Allardyce football and lumping it forward. And I didn't like Allardyce as Rovers manager. But there's something to be said for a target man. And if you can sell Armstrong and get 15, maybe let's hope we get 18 million for him or something, and reinvest that in 2 or 3 options up front. I think it's a big mistake from Mowbray concentrating on the defence in January. We weren't scoring goals back in January. We didn't add to the strike force. And I think if Armstrong got injured now, he's got a bit of a problem because he seems allergic to playing Gallagher there. Brereton, he doesn't want to play there. So who do you stick up front if Armstrong gets injured? You put Dak there, play as a false 9, and then you got the same problem again. He's built this system around Armstrong for me where it's possession, final ball, but it's too high of a needle. It's got to be the perfect passing, and if it's not perfect, it doesn't work. And for me, I'd be selling him in the summer. I mean, kind of dreaming of this a little bit, but if Fulham were to stay up and come in for him and offer us kind of 10 million and Mitrovic on loan for a season, bite their hands off. We'll give you a Mitro, half his wages paid. I'll go pick him up. That'd be perfect for me. Imagine Dak playing off someone like Mitrovic. I mean, Dak's the best player at the club, and he doesn't fit in the team at the minute. It's crazy. He doesn't fit because of the system we play to try and get the best from Armstrong, which when you go a goal down, just isn't going to happen for me. I thought the only way we'd get back in it today was maybe a soft penalty or a free kick or something like that. I thought the Douglas substitution late on was maybe aimed towards stick John Buckley on, maybe get a soft free kick on the edge of the box and whip something in. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think Johnson's a big miss as well. I don't know statistically. I'm sure Joe or Andy will tell me that I'm barking up the wrong tree, but I just feel like we're a more solid team with him in the middle. Whether it's his presence as a player, whether it's ability, he doesn't bomb on as much or he gets in people's faces, I'm not sure. But we never seem to be like this with Johnson in the team, and I'm not sure why that is.
I think the stuff you said about the plan B, Glenn, Ryan has picked up on it there, goes back to us having no plan B, which was present from the start of the season. And then just a bit lower down, there's been other agreements about Adam Armstrong. I'm really fearing the Adam Armstrong situation now, actually. It's been a running joke on this channel about what I said about the price that we would get for Adam Armstrong. And I don't want us to just get 10 million for Adam Armstrong, but if he doesn't keep scoring until the end of the season and he has 1 year left on his deal after this season, we're going to do very well to get a price that we think Adam Armstrong's worth. And that could be devastating if we're trying to replace that level of goals and that pace in our side. So he does need to pick up his form to really put himself in the shop window again so that we actually get the price that we want. So a really worrying run of form for Rovers in that regard.
Just add to that as well, Ryan, before you move on. Maybe moving him out wide is an option for him. It's a different dynamic, isn't it? He's getting the ball with a bit of space to run at people rather than being expected to hang on the last man and run onto a ball. That might work in his favour in terms of getting more opportunities as well. I'd change something up front personally.
The hashtag is back. Be like Glenn. Lot of love for what you're saying, Glenn. Glenn only ever speaks facts. Well said, Glenn. In it, Glenn is a beast. If I have to salvage anything from my evening tonight, it's in it, Glenn is a beast. What a comment. Love it. I want to be like Glenn as well. So that's what I'm going to do. So, speaking sense as ever, Glenn. Absolutely. Ollie, before I come to you, I said I was buying myself some time with regards to these Mowbray comments. So I'm just going to pick up a few things which some of the Rovers Chat lads have sent to me in our little group chat on Rovers Chat. So someone random on the Twitter sphere who I think might be a local journalist because he's from Camberwell in London. He could live in the, support Reading or something. Mowbray, one of the least forthcoming managers I've seen post-match. But on Sky, he just talked about the journey he's been on with Rovers, wanting to give working class fans a fighting team. Watching Borough as a kid, it felt like a goodbye. Genuinely hope it isn't. So that's one thing that he said there. Then someone else, just a randomer called Dominic, F&L, if I was a Rovers fan and just heard Mowbray interview, I'd be fuming. And then someone challenged him on what he said. Can't really remember what he said, but he came across as though he didn't really give a crap whatsoever. And then just some of the Rovers fans, so Jonathan on our channel, thinks that Sky might be reading too much into it because they pay little attention for us and it's just an extension of the previous random interviews that we've seen over the last week. But Sky was surprised that he started talking about this journey and his time being up, leaving the club in a better place. He just came out with it without being asked. So I think there is a lot of agreement on social media that Mowbray's interview tonight might be just suggesting a man who is feeling the pressure, feeling the pinch. Let's see what happens. So, Ollie, just final question on the game, I guess, before we just go a little bit more into the future and beyond. Did you have any hope that we would get back into that game tonight when that mistake happens from Elliott? Did you see anything from Rovers that suggested we were going to get back into it? Or were you joining us all on the watch along talking about chocolate bars and other stuff as we were? Because that's probably as interesting as it got in the second half.
I was on the watch along. I was watching on a Zoom with my dad as well. So I wanted to get my double-decker shout in, but I didn't on the chocolate bar front. I need to give a shout out to Blockers21. His comment, he's wanting me to play Road to Nowhere again to play us out. I can't play the piano. But if I could,
you had to turn around and do it then.
No. If I could, I would, but I can't. But he's definitely getting a shout out for that. No, actually, I didn't. I'm glad Glenn's had his he sort of said it first because I didn't want to steal his thunder. But yeah, I know, like in our private chat, he's, you know, this week couldn't agree more that no, I didn't really. I probably, like a lot of people on, you know, in the comments and watching along, once that first goal went in, I wasn't particularly convinced. I sort of felt we were going to lose the game, really. Bit like same with Watford and same with Forest, and because I think he's spot on that. I'm not going to kind of talk about Armstrong specifically. It's probably more Mowbray as a whole that I think where I've gotten to is that we're not really a 90-minute team, and I think you put the League One season to one side because it was you know, we developed a very good spine, and it's very sort of temporal to that division and where we found ourselves. But since we've been, you know, it's had us 3 seasons in the Championship, and we're, you know, I just don't think we manage games completely the way, you know, I look at other teams and other managers and the teams that finish in the top 6 in this division where we all want to be. You know, to think about today, let's say, you know, little bit of magic and we slip Armstrong through and we get to 1-1, or, you know, found ourselves 2-1 up. I think we would all Reading would turn it back on again. And I think, you know, I don't think we then close the game out 2-1. And, you know, we've done it a couple of times this season, you know, Middlesbrough away, where we got ourselves in front and actually saw it out quite well. But that's probably more the exception than the rule. I think that's what worries me going forward, that, you know, Sky probably, you know, I'm probably not going to read too much into his comments after the match. I'd actually say the comment about him not being very forthcoming, I'd probably say he's probably one of the more forthcoming managers and honest talking managers you'd probably find. So that's, you know, Sky and BT always want to find an angle on a game or an angle on something. That's their job. So I'm not, until we sack him or he walks, the rest of it's just noise, really. You know, and you know, we don't make any decisions about what's going to happen to the club. I can see Leap Year Man there about game management and leaders, and yeah, I don't see, you know, we've talked about this before, that when we've got ourselves into those moments when we could make the top 6, we fall down, and that's, yes, we've got a young squad. Yes, we're probably lacking some leaders on the pitch. You know, like Glenn said, if we had Lenihan with an Ayala or a Williams, with Johnson on the pitch, and with an informed Bradley Dack, and, you know, with a bit more of a stronger spine, yeah, that is a bit more experience and a bit more leadership. But we've had all of those players fit in the Championship and playing our best, you know, seemingly our best 11, and we still kind of have these silly losses, or, you know, concede these silly goals. And I think that's what worries me the most, is that despite some very good performances, despite moments where we've scored some good goals and we've got some very, very good players across our squad. And you've said it so many times, Ryan, you know, we are less than some of our parts, and we really are. And the sum of our parts could be quite a big sum, to not go too heavy on that analogy. We could be a really fantastic team. You know, Reading's got a very, you know, Paunovic has got a very young squad, a squad that was basically pretty awful last season, and they're 5th. The manager can do quite a lot with a football team and a squad of players. I think they made kind of one significant signing in the summer, and they've gone from like a pretty awful side last season, I thought, and they're 5th, and they look pretty well placed to make the playoffs. So it's kind of shows you what the structure off the pitch can do, and that's what I've kind of lost. Mowbray's kind of lost me a bit with convincing me that he can kind of approach games and the opposition we're facing and kind of tactically kind of outwit the opposition and kind of manage a game across 90 minutes. And I think that's what worries me. And yeah, like you say, that, you know, the question as it was, no, I think we go 1-0 down at the moment, and it's, to me, it's kind of done. Just, you know, as invested as I get in watching the team and desperate for us to get back into the match and, you know, believing we are good enough to do it, we don't. And then actually, you know, come the final whistle, it's not particularly surprising, really. So yeah, I'm pretty much with Glenn, really. I think we're not in a very good spot, and we've sort of developed a system that requires us to very specifically get the best out of Adam Armstrong. And I think you know, go back to December, I think teams very easily worked out how to stop us being effective at doing that, and we've seen that pretty much since December, and it's not that difficult to defend against, really. And then we don't do enough beyond that to affect the game. So yeah, yeah, we are where we are, I think.
Jacob from Lancs Live has now posted an interview from Tony Mowbray. So I'm just going to ask Rovers fans in the comments what you think to these two statements, which have annoyed me a little bit, but you can disagree with me if you want to. So the first one that he said, Mowbray, on the manner of the defeat, I'd rather be playing like that and losing 1-0 than getting beat 3-0 every week. And we've got no idea of what we're going to do and how we're going to go. I think we've showed we can be controlled and composed, but we have to find the answers. The last 20 metres are hurting us at the moment. The final ball, the killer pass. So that's what he said about the defeat. And then on the threat, Brereton threatened their goal first half. I think we had some half chance in the second half. 𝐁𝐕𝐈𝐃 should have scored back stick. Armstrong had a brilliant chance. It's not every game you can create 20 chances like most of this season, but there were lots of positives. We just need to work hard, stick together, keep believing, and work hard on the training ground. So Rovers fans, let us know what you think about those two comments. You know, just to give my view, I'd rather us not be playing like that and losing 1-0, because in all of the 1-0 victories we've had, we've looked so unlike coming back from 1-0 that, yeah, maybe I would have preferred to have lost 3-0, and it felt like the side battered us who we were playing against. You know, how many shots did Stoke City have on target when we played at the Britannia Stadium? How many shots did Nottingham Forest have in that second half at the City Ground when they actually could have been blown away in the first half? And then tonight, I've just looked at the stats. Reading have had 4 shots on target tonight compared to our 2 on target. So, you know, have we enjoyed losing 1-0 in the way that we have? Would we rather be playing like that and losing 1-0 tonight? And then just the second half, you know, you're talking about Ryan 𝐁𝐈𝐈𝐃, who's never scored a league goal, and he's referencing that he should have scored at the back stick. And Armstrong's brilliant chance was at best a half chance in stoppage time when we're absolutely just going for it, and Barry Douglas is on the pitch putting a cross in. So it's just comments like this that are just grating on me a little bit, and, you know, putting it down to hard work and keep believing, stick together. I've got no doubt that the players do that. I'm not doubting the players' work rate. I'm not doubting that the players are sticking together. I'm not doubting that the players believe in the club and the manager and respect the manager. But we've said before, you need more than that at championship level. And exactly what Ollie just said, that I've said before about Rovers and about Reading. I was chatting to Dave last night, the Reading fan. Reading are a side that are greater than the sum of their parts because of their manager. We are a side that is less than the sum of our parts currently, probably because of the manager. And that's the difference for me. So Rovers fans, let us know how you feel about those statements. Howard, just going to come to you, Mowbray's comments and just how he's come out in the post-match tonight. You know, how are you feeling that your manager's talking in that way? You're on mute again. Angry.
Oh, this day, man. Right, yeah. In terms of the first comments that he made, I don't particularly disagree with what he's saying, but I think it's concerning the fact that he's actually saying it at this point in the season and this long into his tenure in the job. I think they're the type of problems that you should sort of have by now. We should at least have this identity going forward where we know how we're going to break teams down. We know how we're going to, make these chances and score these goals. And we shouldn't. I mean, we shouldn't be having problems with the type of players that we have in this team, the options that we have. We shouldn't have these problems, but yet we still always do. A big problem creativity for me today was Amari Bell playing, because Amari Bell got in some great positions today, but again, like he has done for 4 years at this football club, lacks the final ball, which Barry Douglas in the 92nd minute, and he's probably his only kick of the game, managed to do, which was put a decent cross into Armstrong. So they're them little decisions that I think kind of don't help Mowbray in them sense, because I think Barry Douglas, I mean, it was 3 years ago he was getting double figures in assists in this league. So I mean, I don't know if you're struggling to find that sort of formula when you've brought in a fullback of his quality, who can put a ball into a box, to our front three. I mean, they're not clinical, are they? But I mean, they can somewhat put the ball in the back of the net. And it's going to happen every so often, isn't it? And I think, again, it's just we're almost the architects of our own downfall. We're struggling in the final 20 metres, as he calls it, but yet he takes off Joe Rothwell and keeps on Tom Tribal, who just isn't really adding anything to that forward role, when Joe Rothwell is our best box-to-box midfielder and can pick up the ball, drive forward and make things happen. It kind of contradicts the way he's going. And I can certainly see how people can, I don't know if they're the comments in particular that people think are kind of making him look like he's a man on the edge, or he looks like a man who's ready to leave. But I can understand it, because it's all just very contradictory. It's all, each comment every game just kind of goes against what he's previously said. Like, we've gone from the beginning of the season with top six, anything other than top six being a failure, to in mid-February this season all of a sudden being a part of the project and the long-term plan, which it wasn't really, was it? I mean, it's become that because he's failed, and he's just kind of ended up covering his tracks a little bit. And I mean, his comments have been pretty shocking recently, haven't they? I think we got that little bit of hope before Coventry when he came out and said what he probably should have said after Preston. But we're not seeing anything different in these performances, really, are we? I don't know. I mean, you can take some positives from certain performances from that game, but as a whole, the performance, you're not taking any positives from that, because it's just simply not good enough, is it? We're not creating. We're not. Well, I mean, we defended okay, but on the whole, we're not defending well enough, and yet we just don't seem to really change much, do we? And in terms of what Glenn said, actually, about the target man, I've always been a really big fan of target men for Rovers, and I think that's 100% the way we should go. I just wanted to add. And I think there's a lot of good, almost target men forwards in League One at the moment. There's a lot of good strikers in League One, and I think that's something that we could use quite well. I think of Johnson Clark-Harris. Charlie White's not someone I'd go for personally, but he's a decent striker. You got Dion Charles, who's quite good at Accrington. They're the type of ones that we're probably going to end up looking at if we don't look abroad. And they're the type of mould of a striker, especially Johnson Clark-Harris, who I can imagine thriving in a team with a Dak behind him, with, a Dolan on the wing, who can sort of just bombard him with these chances. And I think we've kind of almost... I've used this term so many times about Rovers, but at the beginning we've flattered to deceive with the change of system, in which we've seen it as progress, but we've actually regressed when we've actually realised, hang on, Bradley Dack comes into this team, where does he play? And he doesn't bounce off Armstrong the same, does he, as he did with Danny Graham. So I think we've kind of thought we've made progress, but actually longer term we've not. I know that's nothing to do with the question you asked, but I thought I'd just add that on, because I think that's certainly a change that I'd hope will be looked at towards the end of the season, because as good as Armstrong has been in spells this season, he just isn't the number 9 for us. I worry a bit. And yeah, I'd hope that maybe we could look in the lower leagues. I genuinely believe there's a lot of good target men strikers, or moulds of strikers that we could thrive with in these lower leagues.
It's a recurring theme this season about the target men and the lack of plan B. And you just think about how the game's gone today. Reading have lost their main centre-back in Michael Morrison, and we've got no chance to punish that or cause problems to a young centre-half who's going in there. And you look at our bench, you know, Dolan's great as a winger. We all want Dolan to come on. Bradley Dack on his day, and when he's post-injury, he's brilliant. But have we got that type of person to bring on and do what Famara Diédhiou did to Rovers that night away at Bristol? We've been lacking that all season. We really have. So I think you're right, Howard. You know, we could maybe dip into League One and pick up a cheap option. You know, someone who's not necessarily going to start the games, but someone who can just come on and cause a few different problems and different things. So that has definitely hampered us all season. Just a couple of things I will say, though, just on the Amari Bell thing tonight. The modern game of football is very sports science based, and Barry Douglas is in his 30s, and we played on Saturday. So if the sports scientists have seen anything in Barry Douglas to say he shouldn't start tonight, I can understand why Barry Douglas hasn't started. So I'm not going to dig out the fact that Douglas hasn't played tonight and Amari Bell has, you know, on Mowbray, because he's probably been guided by what the data's telling him. You know, Barry Douglas, as I say, is in his 30s. And the other thing I will defend Mowbray on, you know, you can't legislate for the mistake tonight from Harvey Elliott, your best player all season, or one of your best players all season, doing that. The thing that I absolutely am annoyed about, again, is the complete lack of response when that happens. Where's the dusting yourself down, right, we've conceded, let's go? We don't have that type of response in us at the moment. And that's the disappointing thing. 2 shots on target when we're behind in a game of football. That's ultimately where my annoyances with Mowbray lie. And that's ultimately why I'm in this position of, despite what Mowbray tries, despite what he does, despite what an honest guy he is and everything he's built with the club, for whatever reason, it's just not bridging that gap for us this season now. So it is disappointing. Glenn, I'm going to come to you then, just as we seek to wrap up the stream and things. I'll keep looking for the Mowbray comments and other stuff I can on social media, but anything about, you know, what Mowbray said, the stuff that I've read, the stuff you're picking up on social media that's worrying you, or the stuff that he's cutting in the media tonight, you know, what are you expecting to happen from here?
I've not seen the comments on social media. I'm of that age now because of what Howard said. I can't do 2 things at once. I can't multitask. But in terms of where we go from here, I think Mowbray sounds, from what I've heard from the comments, he's a bit of a defeated man. I think we're almost at a bit of an impasse now where I don't think Mowbray really wants to walk away. I think there's something to be said, which I mentioned before we went live, about the owners not wanting to sack him. I think while there's obviously a risk of relegation, but no clear and obvious risk at the minute, I don't think the owners want to sack a man, pay him off in the same season that they've asked fans to buy season tickets because the club need the finances. And if it comes down to that, and that's the reason they're not sacking him, and we get to the end of the season and we finish a point above relegation, am I happy with that? From a financial point of view, maybe. What's the difference in finishing a point off playoffs or a point off bottom? You don't get any more money. In terms of where we go from here, the comments about Bell and Douglas, I think the comment about Douglas coming on and his first ball's brilliant is a bit of a moot point because there's nobody on the end of it. So he could have been doing that for 90 minutes and there's nobody in the middle to get on the end of it, really. I think there's something to be said with the loan players. Harvey Elliott, I think, and this isn't because he made the mistake today. He's been brilliant this season, but we're not going to get playoffs now. It would have liked to see Tyrese Dolan get some more game time from the off. Yes, I would. I'm kind of at the point where what's the point of loan players now? They said it in the commentary. These players get sent out to make the mistakes and then they develop. But then we don't see any of that development. It was the same with Walton last season. He makes the mistakes. Brighton benefit from it. I'd much rather see Tyrese Dolan given a run out at the weekend. But then I saw it in the comments. He plays Dolan on an absolute cabbage patch of a pitch. And then a game like today where he can get it down and run at people, he gets the obligatory 20 minutes at the end as well. I'd be massively frustrated if I was Dolan. I've seen a few comments as well with regards to Mowbray having lost the dressing room and the players have turned on him. I don't see that at all. We're losing games by the odd goal. You're seeing players bringing people down to stop a breakaway attack. You wouldn't see that if the heads had gone, the dressing room had gone. We'd be losing 2, 3, 4. And I think in terms of, like you mentioned about we go a goal behind and that kind of dust yourself off and get back going again. the style of play doesn't help with that. You concede a goal, what do? We take the kick off, go backwards, go sideways, backwards, forwards, backwards again. There's no kind of getting it forward, getting a bit of pressure on the defence. It's just kind of build and build and build and build and build. Loose pass, goal kick, start again, build and build and build. It's the style of play for me now. And yes, I'm all for possession football. There's a place for it, but we need to be able to change it, to switch it up. And I think, I can't remember, you said a couple of minutes ago, someone mentioned Matt Smith at Millwall and just having that kind of plan B. If they're 1 goal down with 20 minutes to go, they chuck Matt Smith on. And I'm not saying do that for 90 minutes, but he's an option off the bench. If we stuck Gallagher up front, he's completely different. He's not the best header of a ball. He sometimes looks as though his boots are made of rubber. And that's not Gallagher's fault. He's probably been farmed out wide for so long. He's forgot how to be a target man. But it's just having something different to have a go at it with, instead of seeing a game just kind of peter out. That's my frustrations. So yeah, personal opinion is I don't think Mowbray is too happy where he is at the minute. I think he probably thinks he can turn it round. I think the vet owners are probably kind of sat on their hands thinking, let's just get this season out of the way. Let's see what next season looks like. If we can get back to having people in the stands, we can maybe have a look at changing it. So yeah, that's it. That's where I'd put it. Disappointed.
Yeah, and I'm just going to look at Lee's comment here. We should never have changed what we did last year. We should have adapted, not totally changed it. In this league, we need physical players. Sometimes it's men versus boys in stature. So I think I'm just twofold on that one, Lee. I've really enjoyed the change in style this year, and I've said it on some of the early season streams and stuff that we've done. You know, I've been at those games where we've had 0% possession and no shots on target in some real bad away games. And obviously, yeah, that's kind of what's happened tonight. But the early season stuff we were doing, even in defeat at places like Watford and Bournemouth, the football was nice. We looked dangerous. We were attacking. We were dangerous. You know, all of that type of stuff. I was behind all of that. But I think this is where the lack of plan B has then bitten him, because all the eggs have gone in the possession-based passing football type basket. And when you've needed your Danny Graham or your big target man and just needed to change your approach mid-season, he's not been able to do that. So, you know, he just needed that tweak to see him through. And that's where I think it brings in your second point, that in this league, we need physical players sometimes. He's not been able to rely on that type of player, has he, this season? And you're right, it has looked a little bit like men versus boys this season. So, Ollie, I'm just going to give you the final word then, if I can, before we seek to close the stream. You know, what do you think happens next? You know, I've made my views perfectly clear. I would love to be proved wrong. I really would, but I don't think that this is the manager to get us promoted. So I think we've got the chance to think about a different manager and think about next season and think about setting that manager up to have the best chance of success next season. And I just think there's an opportunity now to give that type of honeymoon period like we gave to 𝐁𝐥𝐮𝐞 and set that up in the best way we can. If this run of form continues, you know, what do you see happening from here? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to go down. I think we've said that for a few streams. I just think the bottom of the division is quite poor. I know Rotherham have got 2 games in hand, but it's still an 11-point gap currently. And like we've said, you know, 2 wins, 6 points is going to be enough for that to kind of go away. I don't know. It's very hard to call. You know, we've had Mowbray's given us a sort of very odd kind of just 4 years of stability, which we've not actually been used to. In, you know, if you take our recent history, sort of stability is not the word you would use over the last kind of 10 or so years. But for the last 4, we've had it, and you know, the owners have been unpredictable in the past. You know, it's been a lot more settled in recent times. I don't know whether they'd pull the trigger themselves. I don't know. You know, I think Mowbray alluded to the fact that if he lost the next one and the next one and the next one, he might take himself out of the firing line anyway. it's not for us to say. If I wake up tomorrow morning and he's left the club because he's chosen to, or the owners have wanted him to go, then I'm not going to be particularly surprised. I think we need, whether it's him or whether it's someone else, it doesn't actually matter. We need a bit of a change in focus, I think, in terms of how we approach games. I think we've gone over this quite a lot now, and Glenn said some really good things this evening, and so has Howard, that we just need something different, I think. That possession-based game it's just not that effective anymore. Whether it's him as a manager or this set of players, or just particularly how we set up and do it, we're not going to get promoted doing what we've been doing this season. It's I think teams at the top of the table and teams at the bottom of the table have quite easily demonstrated how easily it is to counteract what we choose to do in a football match this season. So we need to do something else. Whether that's with a new manager or not is not for me to decide. So I'm not sure, really. I've quite enjoyed the comments this evening. There's been quite a lot of good chat going on. A lot of love for Joe Rothwell being substituted off. I'm his sort of #1 fan, I think. And even some comments of Tom Tribal being a German Jason Lowe, which has tickled me this evening very much. But no, I don't know, really. I think he's still going to be in charge for Millwall away. I don't know. I think what worries me the most is if we go to Millwall. Millwall are a good team. They've got a good manager. They're a difficult team to play against. If they go a goal ahead on Saturday, you will be on the watch along, and it's probably going to be the same outcome. Yeah, and that's quite tragic, really. We're sat here on Tuesday evening, and come Saturday, he might fiddle around with the starting 11. We might see Rothwell drop for Dak, or I don't know, if Gallagher's suddenly fit, he might bizarrely drop Brereton again. We're not quite, these are sort of the oddities of which we've dealt with this season, but Dolan probably isn't going to start and probably deserves to start. I completely agree with Glenn. Elliott's had a bad game tonight. He's been fantastic for us this season, but Dolan looked really good for the short period he was on the pitch today. But no, I think it's quite depressing. It's quite nice that we can all be here and kind of moan and groan together, but we're just really not in a very good spot at all, really. But I'm not sure much is going to change between now and the weekend, to be honest. And whether if we can just get a win, however it happens, we'll get a win, and that'll lead to a few more points, but we're just going to kind of run through to kind of mid-table obscurity this season, but it still feels like quite a big missed opportunity this season overall, given kind of the squad we had available. But no, we'll see what happens, but I don't think much will change between now and Saturday in terms of Mowbray and what he's doing. I don't think.
Thanks, Ollie. So I'm just going to finish with comments that we've had from people before we finish off the stream. So Michael Pearson, thanks ever so much for the £10 super chat donation there. The Plan B fund at the moment, we can just afford Glenn Entwistle for a month up top. So if anyone wants to contribute to the Plan B fund a bit more, then we can go beyond Glenn for 1 month and maybe get him on a season-long loan. So let's see what we can do with the Plan B fund. But no, thank you, Michael, in all seriousness, for that donation. As I say, we're really appreciative of your support. I do want to do a big shout out to Blockers for finally putting 𝐂𝐚𝐥𝐿 out of his misery and confirming that he thought that Reading would make the top 6. You did ask that question about 6 times, and someone was talking, and I was going to come in and say yes, you would make the top 6. So Blockers, thank you for getting in on that one as well. Then just a couple of comments. I do think we need to be careful as far as the bottom 3 are concerned. We are banking on the fact that there are worse teams than us, and Rotherham do have the couple of games in hand, which could just make us a little bit nervous and just bring them into touching distance of us. So I do think we just need to be careful. I'm not saying we are going to go down, but we can't be too complacent. And Chris has picked that up. Bet Hull fans didn't see themselves going down last year when they were halfway through. We're in, and then Ollie. We keep saying we're not going down and there are teams weaker than us, but where are the points going to come from? And certainly for me, out of this run of 6 games, Ollie, Millwall is the one that I'm looking at. If we are going to get a win, it's that one, because I think the others just look tough. They look really tough. Brentford and Norwich at business end of the season, and Swansea, just come and get the job done against us. And then the other ones, Bristol City, are obviously a bit revitalised. So, we'll see. And then just any other comments before we finish? No, I think that's it. I think we've had enough pain this evening, haven't we? So it has felt a little bit like Groundhog Day tonight. Let's just keep an eye on social media, keep an eye on what's going on. Mowbray certainly cut in a very frustrated figure at the moment, but just kind of reminding everyone that Rovers are on this journey, reminding everyone that it's a slow build, bringing in different things that are and aren't going for us at the moment. And I think the majority of Rovers fans at the moment just aren't buying that. Some of you are, and I've seen it in the comments, and we will always give you your view on Tony Mowbray if you do want to join us on the show, or let us know in the comments, but please do. For me, I'm just worried by the lack of response in this side at the moment. And whether you're on a journey, whether you're at the top of the league, bottom of the league, wherever you are in this league, that damning statistic that we have at the moment, that we can't come from behind and salvage a draw or a win, is pretty damning. And it's an easy blueprint against us at the moment. And it's just not smacking as a side that do have that group, that do have that hard work. I don't doubt the players that they are, but this is where I'm addressing this squarely at Mowbray, and tactically there's something missing at the moment, that little X factor that we need, that little nudge over the line that the players need. We're just not getting that at the moment, and that's the bit that's ultimately worrying me. So yeah, we will go again on Saturday with the pre-match and watch along and the post-match. We will, I promise, we will get a win at some point. But yeah, as Lee says, chin up, lads. If this is what we're like when we're losing and we're on this run, what are we going to be like when we're winning games? And God forbid if we ever make the playoffs soon. So stick with us on Rovers Chat. We all will do it the right way. High Press, thank you. New to the channel. Great job with the streams and all the content. Really thank you for all of you that are new to the channel and everything. Thanks ever so much for joining us. We do love bringing you the content. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the bell notification button as well, so that you get notifications of all of our content. And please give this video a like, and all of our videos a like as well. Glenn, are you available to do the outro? The GOAT. You've been christened the GOAT tonight. I think
it's a lot of pressure.
High reputation there. But just quickly though, are you an apparel or apparel man? It's getting a lot of debate on the watch-alongs at the moment.
Apparel.
I see. Glenn is the GOAT. I knew he was the bloody GOAT. I bloody knew it. You can always rely on Glenn. Of course it's apparel. If Glenn says it's apparel, it's apparel. So there we go. Glenn has spoken. I need to clip this little soundbite for Joe Harvey, because he thinks it's apparel, which is just disgraceful. So apparel, there we go. No, thank you all Rovers fans for sticking with us this evening. It is late. We can all go to our beds now. But if you're John or Dizzy, have a good day that you're about to start. Sorry that it's got off to the worst possible way with Rovers losing. But we will be back again on Saturday. And just very quickly, big thank you to Blue Rose Capital for joining our sponsors this season. And I will leave you, as we always do, firstly with Luke Kimberley, who featured on the watch-alongs, who we said it looked a bit like Eminem. We've got a selection of Gavin Ward photos that we were using on the watch-along just to cheer us up a little bit. There we go, just a selection of Gavin Ward. And then I'll leave you with the serious things, which is the 𝐂𝐿𝐷𝑒𝑠yardsout.com advert. See you later, everyone. The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 𝐂𝐿𝐷𝑒𝑠yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.